Okay.
Greetings, Lango getters. I'm Peter,
And I'm Tyler.
and we're back with another installation in our Ganoqa series. So we're going to keep learning about Ganoqa, a little described language from Solomon Islands. And these videos might be useful to you if you are a polyglot who'd like to study little described languages, or even maybe more useful if you are a community member of a language community with little resources. Hopefully this video will help model how you might go about organizing information and learning about the language. All right, let's jump right in. All right, so I admit that while we were not recording in the past day or two, I couldn't stop thinking about Ganoqa. So I went ahead and did a little bit of organizational work. I wanted to show this right at the beginning here. So I have here just a regular document. One of the things I started doing is I said, well, let's see what I think are subjects, and either they are pronouns or agreements or something. It seemed to be something indexing subject coming before verbs. And so I started putting together some examples. They aren't even glossed. I just bolded what I think is the subject part. Now I've listed here two potential things, mana and ma. I'm not sure which one is which at this point. I suspect because we get mana and muna and then later mina, although I haven't updated the table yet, that the na has some sort of aspectual thing. Gamu seems to be the second person plural subject pronoun, maybe? Or it's an agreement particle. That's all that to be known, but we'll start understanding our sentences better with this sort of organization. We also notice that some things after the verb seem to be indexing objects. So we've built a little table and started organizing a few examples without glossing or anything set in stone yet. It's just something to look back at when we're working on our flex file, so we can be like, wait, have we seen this before, or where else did we see this? And that's pretty much it. The only other thing worth noticing is that I put one PL and one PL twice. That means I suspect there's two first-person plurals. So that means in Ganoqa, I expect that there are going to be two ways to say we. So we and us is one way, by the way. I mean two types of we. I say this because of my experience in Austronesian and Oceanic. There's almost always two first-person plurals, one for inclusive, meaning us including the person I'm talking to, and us exclusive, us, but not who I'm talking to.
A good shorthand for that. For the inclusive, that means you, me, you and me. And the exclusive means us, but not you.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let's look back at our file, our flex file. We're in the glossing section. And you can see there's still a lot of words we haven't quite glossed yet. And we haven't even finished translating. So we're going to pick back up with our translating and try to finish the translation and add in more words. So this should be paragraph 8, sentence 1, should be where we are with azai, which we know means something like so or them, even though we haven't suggested that gloss yet. Maybe now is a good time.
Sure.
Okay, so this is paragraph 8, although it's the second paragraph on the page. That's what this means.
That's right.
There's no translation for this.
He said.
So
could, yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Okay, we have at the end of the row above, at the end of good. That'll be 7, whatever.
yeah,
so that's using that root who of saying Gari would be for the subject. And so the ni there is indexing to him, potentially, if it's not some aspect.
I agree 100% that, and I even think Gadi might be a combination of Ge, Adi. So we have yet to see. I think the gu from Gua is say, and that it got smashed between ni. I don't understand the conditions of that yet. Actually, while I was stopping talking, is here we have Azaiko, Uve, Zagwa. This Uve is all part of this, and here we have Uve question mark, and the translation is you don't say, he said. Azaiko Uve Zagwa Zakeni. I'm trying to think of a way for us to do this without me relying. I recognize this word from Roviana, so I know what's going on here.
wanna
Yes.
not
99% certainty what's going on here, and it's going to be hard for us to deduce it.
unless we see something like that again. Well, let's see. Let me do a search.
Yeah, so let's search in our story of the clam spreadsheet for uve and see if we can find other examples of uve. So there's 4 examples. We've already encountered 3 of them apparently. Don't know why. The uve is 1 sentence above it. Hey, is that so? So that's 1 uve for us.
That's you don't say.
And then we get uve from suvege, suvege.
It just searches for the string of letters.
So yeah, so we're getting uve only twice in here as its own word.
Seems to be the word for tree, suvege.
Yes, I agree. Suvege is tree. Let's go ahead and update our. Do you want to tell me which paragraph it was in? Paragraph 5 total, so it should be in 5 point something. There we have suvege, and I agree. I agree so much that it's tree. I'm going to go to analyze, and I'm going to create a new entry. I'll call it tree. I feel pretty confident it's a noun. Well, we can change that later if it's not.
And as we mentioned several episodes back, we think that final e is just a little echo vowel. It's not really part of the word.
Yeah, so I think that the underlying form is suveg, and that it surfaces as suvege because they don't want to allow a consonant at the end of a word. They, I mean the community of speakers, and it's not like something people sit around and agree upon. Language is emergent, at least emergent, and one of the big patterns you see across all languages in the world is that language, human language, spoken language, so signed language phonology is different. And I'm not an expert on it, so I will not say much more than that. But with human languages, there's an overwhelming tendency to put things at the front of a syllable, meaning consonants. We call this position the onset in linguistics. So things before a vowel. Typically, syllables revolve around a vowel. There's exceptions. We can get into that later. And there's also a dispreference across the languages of the world to put things in the coda, which is the things at the end of a syllable. So you find many languages that don't allow anything in the coda. For example, Hawaiian. Arguably Japanese, because in the Japanese rhythm system, what we would think of as let's say an N in English, is its own kind of syllable. Now, it's not a syllable. They use a term called mora. But anyways, there are many examples of languages that don't allow anything in the coda at all, and other ones that have restrictions. For example, in English, we cannot have the sound H in a syllable, but in Portuguese, you can.
We're getting a little far afield.
Yeah. Well, in any case, this is the reason we're suspecting there's an echo vowel here for suvege. It's not just that we saw parogia change with parogo. We already think, hey, do you notice, that there's always this vowel after it, and there's a tendency to avoid codas. So this is informing us. All right, so we're going to try to continue some of our free translation, and I think that we can crush a lot of words today. Crush in a very positive term, meaning discover and solve. What is what? So starting with this translation problem we've got going right now, down to Universal 8. I think I'm going to put this something like azaiko. I'm going to put and so in square brackets as a placeholder so we understand that these are all connected. And I'm going to put you don't say. Although that doesn't. Oh, look, it's a question mark in the original, and it's an exclamation mark in the translation. So what I'm going to do is in square brackets, I'm going to put my guess here. Yes, question mark?
The guess is yes.
The guess is yes for uve. but we'll leave it for now until we have more evidence. We're going to have to go through more stories to find more evidence to support our current guess.
The reason square brackets there is we want to mark what we're adding ourselves as distinct from what we were given. That is very important so that you can retrace your steps if you made a mistake.
That's right. You don't have to use square brackets. We're using that as a convention meaning
some people do
something we're just agreeing upon, Tyler and I, so that when we go back, we remember what we added and what was in the original. And that's the whole point of it. So if you are studying, say, at a university and your professor does something different, do whatever you need to do in school. This is just the convention we're agreeing upon so we can organize our data. You could do something else if you wanted to. All right, now we've got Lao Bati. He went till he saw that deep pool as big as an island and sat and drank and drank and drank and drank, but the stream wasn't properly dry. He was so full of water he was half dead. So you get
Lao. Seems to be a verb of motion, potentially. Lao. But we'll get to that. Let's go ahead and fill in, a bunch of sentences, getting closer to complete.
I agree. Lao is probably a verb of motion. This was making sure everything lined up. It does look good.
Yeah.
So a honey eater. What do you think a honey eater is?
Well, as I mentioned a few episodes ago, I don't think it's a kind of fish. I would guess it's an animal, but not a fish, maybe a bird.
I'd suspect it's a bird.
It mentioned that it has a sharp beak. Now, there are some beaked fish also. But since honey is not as plentifully available under the water.
That's true.
And there are mammals that eat honey, but no beaked mammals that I know
of. One thing is that I'm sure listeners who are already part of a language community who are trying to do their own description know it's actually very hard to separate a language from its geographical environment and then still understand it. So if you know about the Solomon Islands and their biodiversity, you'll know that basically the farther you get from continental Asia, to put it simply, the less likely you are to get things like mammals. Now they have mammals in Solomon Islands. They have bats. And these days they have dogs and pigs, both brought by Austronesian speakers thousands of years ago. Making sure this lines up. It does not. Okay, so Ari, Tori, Korapa, these three had already gone and dived a clam. We already solved dived a clam. So we saw Suvu Suvu before, and we said it might be dive. Isn't that correct?
So that does seem familiar, and we have it without reduplication. So
and now we have it with our proposed third singular object variant.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So do you want to go ahead and create an entry for Suvu and call it dive?
Let us do that, and then let's go to the lexicon. Take a look at what we can do there.
I'm going to call it a verb for now.
Verb.
Doesn't matter.
It's got verb morphology. That's an excellent argument for making it a verb. Let's go ahead in that very cell where you are. Had dived. Well, no, let's set that aside. But if we just go to the lexicon.
Interesting here, we've got the still and perfect.
There's a shortcut you might not know about. I think it's control and then click that entry that you just created. Or maybe the line below, but that worked. Yeah, it'll go to the lexicon. So if you just it looks like it's alphabetized by head word. We didn't create Suvu Suvu. I guess we held off on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go back to the text and words.
Yep.
And when we run into Suvu Suvu again, as we make our last pass, so we're kind of putting in some really quick things that we can get right off the bat while we're putting in our free translations, but ultimately we will come back and carefully go through everything, and we'll have even better guesses by then.
Hold on before you scroll down. Let's get 2 words after. Let's identify the clam word there since it's in the title. Temotemoko.
And Motemoko must be clam?
I'm pretty sure we have a clam in the sentence, right?
Now, do you think that the root there was probably temok? And
I do. Yeah. It's perfectly parallel to that paro.
I'm going to call the whole thing clam, though.
Works.
Call that regular noun. Now we have Ari as plural, but we have no actual entry. So let's call it plural. And I believe that this is a nominal particle.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to only call it particle for now until we really understand what's going on. How about that?
Yep, works for me.
All right, so now we have that.
Quiz
Right,
3.
I'm going to select this word mule so I can go back to our gloss and be right at the next one we need to do our translation for.
Giant came back. There's that Lao, and he's coming back to find them.
I have a different guess for where we're getting coming back in that sentence.
Okay.
But good. I do think Lao is a motion verb. And maybe it'd be a good time to pause our translation and look at our story of the clam. And let's look up all the Lao words right quick.
Okay.
So there's 20 of them. Let's go to the first one, I guess.
Maybe embedded in other words. We'll see. Okay, no, there it is on its own. If you really want to just get Lao, you can put a space before or after or both.
Let me put a space.
There might be a comma after it. So
there we go. I'm going to remove, yeah, you're right, the comma. Remove some
comma or other punctuation. Yeah. 18.
Yeah, so it's pretty common. Then we have Lao, Ragata Va, Kenindi Gania.
Ate it. Giant dragged it out and ate it. So it could be the outward part of that dragging motion.
It certainly does not preclude a motion verb there.
Right.
Look close by. This is another thing where it's stacked inside a lot of actions. So he went to look for them.
Sequences of verbs.
We're starting to have an idea, by the way, that bati probably means look or search or see or something. And then we have batiria, look for them. We have za, which we're starting to think might be third. And then we get lao. Went and looked. Lao certainly seems like go, if I had to put the best English translation on it. Let's see a few more examples, and we might guess lao as go. Look what we get right there. Down came the fellow to go, he thought.
Nice.
And that is a strange sentence in English, but it's trying to tell us something about the underlying information. What do you think?
Well, the ko in that one, if the to is meaning like in order to go, he came down in order to go, we'll have to, then that's very informative. That could be one function of this ko word there.
Yeah, ko is a bit confusing to me. We see it right up again here with koza. What's going on with this ko?
Probably many things.
It may be opaque to it. There we go. Ko had been. I think ko is some sort of past tense marker. I
see. Okay, now could be.
What is your guess? So we can
be all kinds of things. My guess is it's some sort of in order to, and we see it.
Look at it in the sentence above, though.
Take one.
Arikue means the three.
Yeah.
No.
Had been diving.
Suvutu. So there's our suvusuvu, which we know means present tense or progressive of diving.
Yeah, could be expressing the but then part.
Ah, very nice, Tyler. Okay.
But we'll see. I think we get a lot of cool.
Super open about that, but feeling pretty confident that lao means go. What do you think?
Yeah, it's working well for me.
Lao ako ngonkolo. So we've seen gonkolo a couple times here too. I'm going to reserve my judgment for now. Yeah, but Lao, I'm going to go ahead and guess. What do you think, Tyler, voting on Lao?
Let's see. I'm just looking through the spreadsheet as well on my end. Hold them and twist them off. Let's see. You go look for, yeah, it doesn't seem to be motion toward the center or toward me, but just going, maybe going away. Although here we have it came back to find.
But
let's just call it go for now.
Both going towards and going away are going. And going back are going. I think we're getting the return meaning from a different verb here, and I'm going to resist spoiling this one.
Good on.
I'm going to call this go. I'm not even going to add word class because For all we know, it's a preposition, and it just works as a verb too.
Yep, some languages do that.
We forget, especially if you spend a lot of time in, say, Western education system or something, we act a lot of times like there's rules to languages. And internal systems are coherent, always. But as far as how a language could actually work, that's not something one person controls. All right, this
Very
must
rare.
be still cooking the food, just guessing here. So I should be in paragraph 10. Let me remove my search here.
Yeah.
Right after Moulet. Aha, so this is broken into two things on Flex, but it's actually thing here.
It
So
will
they
do
were
that.
cooking the food, and I'm guessing they were in the middle of cooking the food is what we're getting here. Nope. Let me do this.
Yeah, just copy. What's this? Yeah, probably that. I think I agree.
My hotkeys was the problem. All right, so there we get this ge again from gengu, which we have as gunge.
Now, it looks like you've copied it, but you want to get rid of it from the place where you grabbed it. If you use Control X, then that cuts it instead of just copying.
Yes, I know, but I tend to not do it.
Yeah, okay, just in case.
All
right.
Just in case, but yeah, I do need to go back and copy it. I was so enamored by Yendi, it gave me an idea there.
Still open fire.
So if we separate these, now this
That'd be-
yay we have as a root in some things, although I think we have, not for everything. D, what if I were to propose to you that there's an allomorph of dia?
See difficulty with that. Why would it lose the A or why would it gain an A?
Why does it lose the A? Which would be my guess. I don't know. But haven't we already seen one phenomena where they lose an A in certain conditions?
Couldn't say it for certain.
All right, so I'll leave it for now. But I think this gives us a better guess what this "gay" means. We'll leave it for now. I'll leave it a mystery. We'll go back to gloss and we'll just finish our translating.
All right.
And I've told you my proposal. We can think on it for more evidence later.
So yeah, you might, if you're working on something like this or just watching us, you might think this must get overwhelming. And occasionally it does. But the nice thing about having it represented in multiple places is you can just go back over it again and again to look at it and to refine your hypotheses. You don't have to solve everything in a short time. It's not a race.
In reality, you'll never, if
Never
you're
be done.
never be done, never get to the end of it. But it's like saying like, well, I can't wait till I'm done eating nachos, if nachos is your favorite food. I can't wait till I'm done with this. That's just not the way it works. Like, what if you could eat nachos forever and you never got full and it wasn't bad for you? Because obviously eating forever would probably not be very good for you, but
in 10-4, buddy. Let's go to 10-4 real quick. We have a nice Hawaiian-like structure with the last two words, that zomanga lea.
Yeah.
Verb root, it is pleasing to someone, but here it's functioning like a relative clause. The smell which is good, the pleasing smell. Taikigiri, when it's in that order and there's no morphology on that verb root. Let's also, can you go to the zomanga one and let's go to analyze. Rewrite the C. What were we gonna say? Yeah,
Look, you got it. I already guessed it.
Well,
I was gonna say before, I think I told you Leia might function like an adverb sometimes. Although here it's not functioning much like an adverb at all.
Oh no,
it could be a null clause.
Okay, look at the very next line below there, 10-5. Omanga lea ziu. Ziu is the suffix on the verb. The smell pleases me. But here it's the good smell. I think that's a noun phrase. Because Hawaiian does it the same way from what I've been able to glean so far. Still in my early days of studying Hawaiian. I personally would link them, but we don't have to. Smell, but it's like the smell and then which is pleasing. We could just say please.
Yeah, I guess where I'm agnostic about it is I'm not sure how much of a difference there is between verbs and adjectives and adverbs in this language.
With you there. That's a very Western language, so Indo-European language distinction. We have this category of adjectives that is clearly demarcated, but that's not the case in every language in the world.
My intuition here with Ganoqa is that like a na, an article, we're pretty sure this is an article. What's following that's probably a noun because it's in a noun phrase. Now, I admit I am biased by my training that I was lucky enough to study at some generative linguistics institutions, and they have this notion of the determiner phrase as being dominant. For me, this is great. The determiner phrase actually determines the word class, and what's inside it is not analyzed within the privacy of its own lexicon, to quote a famous paper. Let's continue this and see if we can have any more guesses. Now that we have go of what we were saying what word category it was, that's why that's empty. So this should be the fellow came and sat with them at the edge of the fire.
Gokolo might be the word fellow then. Go. Come through 8. Gokol being the root. This paragraph 6, we had it too.
Well, we also get za here, which we think is third singular subject. So
go, man. Fellow.
So came gokolo, whatever means in ko, and that would be your conjunctive there, or whatever to transition. And then new mu.
Mu for second person.
Maybe, no. Or maybe there's a root that ends in mu. We don't.
There's no second person in the English sentence.
Well, and what I'm seeing here is new mu taviti ria, and we already think ria. We're starting to think ria is an object agreement for third plural. So we have some ria dia thinking going on, my guess. And so ria is for objects, dia is for subjects, is my other guess. Or maybe subject-like situations such as possession. So
now
I'm guessing those are two verbs together.
Okay. That Ngokolo one, we can be pretty confident means fellow or guy or man.
Are you pretty confident?
I just did a search. Why don't we do one together?
Let me show the search.
Now, Q, that's going to be an unga sound, a prenasalized velar stop. Hey, man. Right at the end, right at the beginning of it.
Very hard to ignore that.
We have 7 more instances, though. Let's just look through them all.
Let's look through them.
Long sentence there.
That fellow.
That fellow. Yeah, right near the beginning.
Gonkolo. So Aza kind of looks like a that type thing, as we've seen it a few times. But the fellow, there we go again. We get Gonkolo right there where we get fellow.
Near the middle of it, yep. Down came the fellow.
Ooh, it's very hard to ignore Gonkolo as fellow.
So you go, man. We'll be in the big deep pool. So you go, man, and sit down. Sit and drink a drink.
Gonkolo. But we this might be from like Gonkol or something, not Kolo.
Yeah. I sure would agree with that. Fits into our schema that we've identified. Does Roviana have a cognate?
I mean, I don't know if it's cognate, but there's a word that is certainly similar called kolo. And kolo means water.
Okay.
So kolo hokara means true. Kolo hokara is salt water.
True water. Wow, fascinating.
Yeah. And lama, let me double check. I believe it's lama. I would hate to misquote it though in a video. So, and I always have my Roviana dictionary on my desktop. I would never not. So free lesson in Roviana, and this is available for download from University of Surrey. Please find it.
Yeah. There you see you saw the spelling of the language.
I'm trying to get it to show me the next.
Right.
Yeah, sweet lomoso. So kolo lomoso, sweet water is fresh water.
Okay.
Or koloimbu, cold water. So I suspected there would be some kolo business. There's an important island in between Ranonga and the Roviana territory called Kolo Bangara. Bangara meaning like chief or person of power, big man, something like this. And that's the big island that makes the water king in English.
Water king, yeah. Okay.
And it makes the water because, of course, it's so tall, the clouds collect around it and it constantly has rain. When you might not guess it, islands have droughts, sometimes even rainforests. And so it's hard to get enough fresh water. and your water becomes brackish if you're very low in a elevation.
Now that means it's a mixture between a mixture of salt and fresh water, or just that
Yes,
it's
and
salt.
maybe you can't drink it. Maybe you could still, like, for example, maybe wash something with it. I don't know. I'm way more an expert in noun phrases than I am in survival. When I go to Roviana to visit, I am greatly at the mercy of my hosts, and they've always taken very good care of me, by the way. But
let's create that Ngokolo entry there. 10-6.
let's do it. Let me click.
Fellow came.
I like fellow too, and I don't think it's an accident that that's the word they use for translation, even though it's not something we commonly use. And we're gonna call this a noun. We'll go for noun.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, if that was a question, my answer is yes. Now our word fellow, that's an old compound. The one who lays the money out. The fee layer. Fellow.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I'm not kidding.
Well, fellow.
Fee was also cattle, so it could be the cattle.
If you were like me, you may be really also interested in the cultures and languages of Australian Aboriginal people, and also the pidgins and creoles of Melanesia. These Englishes, these varieties of English that these people speak, or the creoles of them, often contain the word fellow or fala. Right. So in Solomon Islands pidgin, they use fala as a counting particle. So like you fala, like you plural, three fala. Although people would say pala if there was no, a longer time ago when the languages didn't have as much F's, etc. So fella clearly was a word used in the blackbirding, which, in case you don't know, Australian plantation owners took people from Melanesia and indigenous Australia and forced them to work, but potentially for fees. And they got the white follow way, for example, is the way people do things outside of the indigenous culture. And yeah, I'm not surprised fellow is used for the translation here. All right, then we got toga toga, garivani na toga toga, and toga toga is just calling to me for some reason. So they gave him the clam's foot and he ate it. Ah, this giant always eating everything. Now, Ngadi, we have not solved here. We have a pretty good idea. It means they.
Yeah. Geari.
But we have Gadi and gay. Here, the next two sentences are perfect. Let's see if we can.
Yeah. See if we can find some grammatical contrast
Gave him
there.
the meat. He ate it.
All right. They are clearly agentive. They gave him the meat in those cases.
They gave him the shell.
Oh, all right. Is meat different enough from shell that it would be reflected in the pronoun? Potentially. He looked at, but the verb is giving again.
He ate everything, so nothing was left.
We saw that ari. We called it what do we call it? An article earlier. That seems to be a fusion there. Ge and ari being added to give ngari.
I am confused here because he says.
We might have a misalignment. Yeah. Okay.
Because we should have a livona. We already know livona means big claw. He ate everything, so nothing was left. And this should be, they gave him the claw and he ate that.
So mistakes do happen. We're looking at pay. Oh, can you on your spreadsheet just go to the left to column A, make column A visible? Just nudge it over, and you see A. We can only see. There we go. So page 8, the 4th. I will check it here. Page numbered 8.
I think what happened is he ate everything and nothing was left, and he scratched the ashes. Both of those are for the translation for the next sentence, and there is no translation for they gave him the big claw and he ate it, and it was just a mistake in the editing or whatever of the translation.
Well, let's see if it was my mistake when I was transferring all this over.
I doubt it, but maybe.
Mea. That's nice. Zamea. Ngevani na livona zarania. Ani beto. Okay, that part looks good in the original. Then on the following English page, they gave him the meat. He ate that. They gave him the shell. He licked that. He ate every. Yeah. Okay. That seems to be how it is in the original. So nothing was left. So
what I propose we do is in square brackets we put our own translation.
Right. Big claw.
The big claw. He ate that.
It looks like Ngari Vanina or Ngevani. Oh, look at that. We have no. Is that right? Is that an error? That looks like it's they gave him in the same order. Gevani no. It has an O in the doc, in the booklet. What's going on there? Not no.
Now, I think that we have stumbled upon a double typo here. They forgot the. I'll be agnostic on this no for a while. I can't think of what else would condition it, and I believe we have na koena earlier. So now we know boana is meat.
Well, it could be its shell. It could be a genitive particle in there.
Small cultural note for any Western Solomoners listening. I do feel bad saying this word repeatedly, as I know that this word right here, highlighted, boana, is a naughty word in Roviana. I'll leave listeners to guess the interpretation for themselves. I was once told a story by a storyteller, a woman of advanced years, and everybody knew what the story was about except me, of course. And she was telling me of Vivini Malevi in Roviana, and at the end, she used this word to describe the thing, and the young boys of the village just died laughing, falling over, because of such a respectful person to use such a crude word. So that's how I learned the word.
Great. That kind of stuff always sticks in my memory. Let's actually go back up real quick. We have these it's really lovely to me when you get these really closely parallel sentences. You can identify words super easy. So gave him the meat, he ate that. Let's create ngari and ge, or then
right.
At least at the word level. Yeah.
I think we should separate it and have it as nge ari. You agree?
I'm totally in agreement with that.
But I'm not sure.
That's right.
I want to make a sub. I don't know which one is attaching to which here.
Right.
It might just be fraction. So,
but we can give it a word gloss. We can say they.
We're gonna call the whole thing they.
Let's make.
What's that?
I would recommend a lowercase t because you're going to get it in the middle of a sentence too.
Oh, that's it. That was my bad.
Yeah.
Let's make an entry for gay. Gay should be 3 singular. We're gonna call this subject though. What do you think?
Let's use caps like we've been doing.
That was my convention. I'm going to list it as not sure. Still don't know.
Secretary, not sure. Okay.
All right. Let's see how it. It caught up on itself.
Is not the article in 10.7. That na means him and not the article, I think. Well, maybe not. No. We got more. Toga.
So what I think is Vani.
Vanina. Okay.
Because we've seen ni act like it object in other things before. So I think it's more like they gave it.
And then not Toga. Okay, that is the article.
Or they gave to him the thing. So it's some sort of so I think there's the way they do ditransitives, so something with a subject and 2 objects is a little bit different than English. Okay. And that is my guess there, is that this ni is referring either to the recipient or the object, and that na is indeed still a
article. I could see that actually.
And the clam's foot, we don't know which one is which, but we might eventually be able to figure out what is foot.
I don't think it's Zana. I think it's going to be the Toga. Yeah.
Look at gloss all together. So we can see all these, because we have all these nice paradigms right next to each other, so we can see them all together. So to go does seem to be a form of perfect. Or tugu, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. I revealed myself there.
Ah.
No, I didn't. My subconscious did. That just changed my analysis, by the way, too. But now I can't say it.
Okay.
Because we have Tugo and Roviana, obviously, and now I thought about what it means in Roviana. I rescind my earlier comment, and I now think it is cognate with Roviana, but it's a different final vowel, and that it means something else.
So this Moana, it could have a detachable na on it. Could be Moa for for the noun itself.
Almost certainly, just like
Okay.
koena, the shell.
Yeah, like we saw up above several episodes ago.
I'm going to go ahead and analyze it as meat.
The meat. All right.
And we'll say the na is the. We don't have na as a particle yet. Meat for mboa. We'll go ahead and call it a noun for now.
It's behaving very noun-like with that article on it.
So we haven't had a good chance to show us what na means yet. So I'm going to leave it until you can deduce it. I know what it is. I 100%. Any Austronesianists worth their salt probably has already figured this out.
Well, I'm still a baby in that area of language study. That tugu to me looks like it has that perfective tu or perfect tu and some other particle on it.
I'd say that's probably etymologically true, but I'm not sure if they're just like other things. They're not necessarily composable today. Still useful for us to analyze it as two things.
All right, like fee and fel. They're historically connected, but native speakers don't need to know or care about that.
Potentially could be. For no, I'm going to leave it until the end.
All right, get the low-hanging fruit.
Mea. So I do know what this means in Roviana.
Looks like it's going to mean lick, a transitive verb. They gave him the shell. We have giving, we have shell identified.
Well,
tu is also there above. It's not going to be the licking part.
Well, here in our translation, it says he licked that.
That, right?
There's no that there, and there's no object agreement when we know there would be an object agreement if it was really transitive.
So the root could be me, and the a could be agreement. Me is awfully short for root.
You think that? Oh yeah, I can't rule it out. I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to let you call this. This one is cognate with Roviana. I know exactly what it means.
All right.
I don't want to spoil it, so we're going to call it lick for now. Is that correct?
Let's just put it in the word. We don't have to create an entry for it, but let's put it in the word gloss line.
Let's go back to gloss then and do it there.
Yeah, they're just licked. So that's where when you're not, there's different levels of certainty there.
Yeah.
And we pretty darn sure, like that fellow word we identified. I have very little doubt about that. But here, the shorter the word, the more more things can go awry.
And it is true. It could be a CV syllable with a vowel. But if we start looking at the shapes here, we notice every single thing that's CV is a function word. So there's a difference between function words and content words. This is maybe not what technical linguists always call it, but if you're watching this series, it'll give you an idea. So something like the shell is a content word. The is a function word. So when we're getting this E, we know that's a function word. It does mean he or him or something, but it's clearly carrying some meaning on the verb for inflection purposes. So
and by the way,
that lick for now. And I do believe that this one will show you the slipperiness of word class in Ganoqa, which I'm just beginning to appreciate how crazy it is. Not crazy, interesting.
Peter just mentioned CV. That's not your curriculum vitae. That's your consonant and vowel is what that means.
That's right. We're talking about syllable shape. Consonant for consonant is C, V for vowel.
So let's go on to the next. Big Claw, he ate that.
So most of that has been solved.
Gave him the... Okay, then we're... All right. We got a little bit from those few. What's the next one? That'll be he ate everything, so nothing was left, we suppose.
He ate everything, so nothing was left, and he scratched the etches for more. This is
honey there. Yep. Wonder why it's in yellow on the top line, but whatever. Maybe because it hasn't seen it with a capital G.
I think it just simply hasn't seen it with a capital G.
If we can approve it.
I'm going to approve it.
Right. Pale Aza.
So what is our...
Ashes we might be able to identify. Laudu. There's that motion verb, but there doesn't seem to be a clear indication of any motion in English. Could be that he's walking while scratching in the ashes. Leai. Rani leaike. Okay, za. Zarani leaike. Okay, I think is that exclamation particle. in one of its forms.
Yeah, I think K is like wow,
Wow.
or gosh or something.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and just word gloss it. Wow. Leai we've seen. So yeah, let's go to analyze it.
Has it did we not
I don't know why it's not analyzing. Maybe we just didn't, yeah, we didn't teach it or something. But let's get rid of the X, because that was just a placeholder for the dash. And E, is that going to be Ia? Lea, Ia, I could see Lea Ia becoming Leai.
one of the problems
Mm,
with translation is that you would use the same word food. Food is a non-count word in English, right? You wouldn't say I have 3 foods.
yeah, not so good.
So you can't really get a singular plural distinction.
It's not the
However, is
prototype.
this semantic universal? Is it possible that some languages would have a singular plural distinction between a word like food?
Sure.
And what even so
Last
is
two
yeah
contradictory questions. I think it's possible you could have foods. I mean, we do get foods. What is it you're asking?
if this E must be derived from ia, because we saw
Oh,
before that when the E is deleted, if one thing is deleted, it's the E, not the and you would say, well, this isn't deleted, the E isn't deleted because it'd be lea. Maybe. I'm gonna leave it as agnostic for now.
sure.
And there could also be an idiomatic meaning here, like maybe lei, it makes it sound extra tasty. No idea.
Right.
I'm not trying to be silly, I'm trying to be agnostic here,
But-
open-minded.
Right. These are things that occur in speech. Za. So one interesting, if you could you scroll up? Yeah, just a teeny bit so we can see that. An interesting question that presents itself here is za and nagani, are they separate noun phrases or determinate phrases? That is good food. Or is it that food, a single noun phrase, is good, is pleasing? Something I would want to figure out at some point. If it was a single phrase, we would link it. That food, I personally would. But maybe, so the English word that is ambiguous.
I don't think that this sentence translates to that is good food.
That is food.
I think it is he ate everything. Wow. Or he ate good. Wow.
I see. Honey being
well,
purple.
Something like that.
Okay. So you might regard the leai there as an adverb more than an adjective.
Well, I don't think Gani means food.
Okay.
It means eat. Or we have he ate must be everything. That somewhere in here we're getting scratching through the ashes. And that is good food. I think there's like idiomatic things and they're trying to help us out with the English.
Yeah.
They're like, he ate well, so they're saying that is good food, something like that.
Them's good eatins. Let's put it.
Yeah, perfect kind of example.
Let's put in some more free translations.
Yeah, let's work on more free translation.
Lineake. Oh, there the K is just in the single word. I wonder if it's the same wow particle at the end of 1012.
It might be.
So, right,
we've got 2 things going on here. Is that so? Probably that is sweet to taste. It's right here.
Right. Yeah. Just cut out the rest there. You can, since you already have it in your clipboard, you can just paste it again. Paste the very same thing again in 1013 and get rid of what you don't need. There's no possibility for error. Oh, okay. There you go. That'll do it.
But this time I used the technique you suggested last time, and
just save us precious seconds. So now, where did you get that? My 3 grandchildren. We have the 3. Mambuzu has got to be grandchildren. I'm pretty sure, and it's got that echo vowel potentially.
Mambuzu, and we have a good guess what ngwa means now as well.
Right.
Because we've seen. Wait, have we seen? No, we don't have good evidence for it. I know what it means because I recognize it, but we don't have good evidence for it. So we're going to call this grandchildren, and I think that sounds right.
We have 3 hits in the text, always with grandchildren.
Call it a noun.
Should it be grandchild? Does the language?
It should be grandchild. and then the plural comes from the que.
Ngue. Ngua.
Yes, it could be ngua. It doesn't even have to be ngua, like I said. Doesn't even have to be. That was again revealing a little guess there from Roviana. Happy with that. They are giving us a big hint though, they hear, because they say my 3 grandchildren.
My 3. Wow.
But we don't have quite enough evidence yet. Do we have any more ngua in our... So ngua is different than gua. Let's search right quick in our thing for any more guas.
3 hits. 1.
There are...
Oh, hey, my 3 grandchildren again, up above. Grandchildren.
Yeah. So we get 2 of those.
Yeah, each time it seems to mean...
My grandchildren.
So
the three that we're only getting is my 3 grandchildren.
Ngu. Well, the ngu indexes first person, doesn't it?
Do we have it? Where do we find that before? That's what I was thinking about. So I didn't know if we have any evidence for that. I mean,
Tangu. Okay, in paragraph 2.
mine.
A little bit, and then in the give me a leg part. Vaniziu tangu nakarusuna.
Give me the shell. He ate the shell. Did we already gloss tangu as mine?
I don't recall.
Yeah, but I think that is what's going on there. We get any more goo there? I don't even see this in this sentence. Oh, it's in the middle of a word, so that's not helping us. Yeah, we're not getting a lot of ngoo. All right, we're back where we started.
I think that's got cognates in Hawaiian and Indonesian.
Yeah, you get the 2 far sides of the family, it's still pretty consistent. So it's really hard to say that knowing about the language family isn't at least helpful.
Could mislead you too, but it sure offers a lot to know some related languages, however distant.
I just noticed in the story he says here, "Ooh, they killed me. They've tricked me," and then it kind of goes on, and he goes on to the next thing. He was not killed, actually.
I was murdered. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we can finish translating this whole thing.
Yeah. We are pretty close.
We know it means he said. So that's just this part right here, I'm guessing.
Yep. That was when Flex sees that sentence final, it always ends a line. Spits out a new.
As long as it's consistent, okay with me.
Golo, where's our fellow? Hey man, there's a little extra space there between there and S. Can you, once you go ahead and paste it. Oh, do you want? I think it should be the line above 11:1.
I see that now.
They said to him that can stay. Yeah, you got it. That can stay. Now, between there and Z, can you get rid of that space? About the middle of that line.
You notice we got Ganguni before for they said to him, and now we get Ngariguni.
Fantastic.
What is the difference between Ganguni and this gay and Ngari business?
Like the difference between they and the, something like that. German, for instance, it has pronouns just like English, but it often uses definite articles in place of a third person pronoun. And this could be something similar like that, just free variation. But it has slightly different tone to it.
Yeah, there may be information that we can't know without going in real life.
Pretty definitely there is that kind of stuff. But we're here to see what we can glean from these bilingual texts that we've got.
Ura, pai. But where?
Beautiful. Where? Okay, ura. I want to get that elsewhere.
We
7
ura a fair bit.
Not always meaning but necessarily.
I think it's like a discourse particle, probably. Kind of like a wow. Wow is an example of a discourse particle. Ura does not mean wow, but it's kind of like hey or something we might say in English. So you see them sitting on the reef, and you can twist them off. Not those.
Tambokili, what a great word. Nakaza. So negation, we haven't. I mean, we have instances of negation. We haven't identified any of the pieces involved, have we?
Yeah, we haven't, but it starts to kind of make me think this K here is the negation particle.
Okay.
We have Zake, or he doesn't, or whatever.
You can, all right, see them sitting on the reef and you can hold them and twist them off.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusing things, I would say, about probably not confusing to people who speak the language. I don't mean to say the language is confusing. To us outsiders who don't know what's going on, it's very interesting. I'm guessing bati. I said bachi before because too much Portuguese. Bati means sea. So let's search our document right quick for bachi. Bati.
But in other oceanic languages, as you probably know, ti could give a C sound. The spelling si only occurs once. So we really don't know. We're just going based on spelling. It'd be like if we're looking at an English text, not knowing any English, saying things like te and one for one.
So here it looks like bati is.
We have 12. Yeah, that's great.
One. Or find.
Which involves
batia, find it.
Yeah.
Or find one. And there we get.
Always in very long sentences.
Batiria.
Batia, we have different ending on it. Yeah.
We get batiria and batia. So batiria must be see them. Batia, see it. You will see a tree.
So we have ria and we also have ari. And I think those are not unrelated words. I think they're related.
Yeah, they definitely seem related.
Great stuff. I'll see them tomorrow. Is that where we are, Mont? Yeah, I think we have a pretty good evidence that it's about seeing.
See. They also use it for find. Okay. Here's where we were. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and update bati as see. And we'll know that it can also mean find or something like that, and that's okay.
Yep.
When we know more about it, we'll go to our lexicon and try to do more. Now, when we see this mari, it's got the adi right there. So I don't know what mari means, and I think if we do a search, we won't figure it out. But we should keep it in mind as we move forward with our next story, eventually, that we don't know what mari means.
2 hits. Wow.
And they're both in the same sentence. But it does both, you'll see them sitting on the reef and you can hold them.
Is it you do? Yeah, you, them. I bet it's mu and ari stuck together.
Oh, wow. I hadn't considered the idea that these things, these mana, muni, mina business is both subject and object together. But that's a very good hypothesis. And because then we get muna, so that would be
you, them.
You, it.
You, it. Okay, you'll see.
Mari is
mu, ari, you, them.
Oh my goodness, Tyler. I really like this hypothesis. I'm going to leave it for now, but that doesn't mean so we sometimes have to leave little things left undone.
If it's true, it'd be a pretty cool thing for language to do. I haven't seen quite that very thing, pronoun fusions. But Celtic has, and French and some other languages, they will often fuse a preposition with an article. Well, and they will tend to be unstressed words, I think. And so
I have seen it before.
Okay.
As an Austronesianist who works in Oceania. So not in a language I've had the pleasure of studying intensely, but all right. So there it says Munu Lao, Dogoro. Now we've seen Dogoro and I believe Dogoria.
Dogoruria, ria. Wow. What's going on there? Two dogor. Look for the big stuff, them.
So let's focus for Dogor.
Look, it's looking for. It's only 2 hits.
Yeah, we get Dogor and Dogoria. So this really supports our hypothesis that Ia is a third singular object agreement. Where there are crab holes,
look close by.
The crab will be there. Not them, they're different ones, and you will find they're different ones you will find well back in the hole. So it should be a plural Dogororia or something, but I think they're saying ones because they're giving us a hint there. Well, look close by. Where there are crab holes, look it. You will go look it.
Yeah.
In any case, how do we feel about calling Dogoro look?
I'm totally on board. Even though just 2 hits.
They're 2 good hits.
Yeah, they're good ones. Ria. Double ria in this one.
Do you want to call it Dogor and then separate the O off?
No. We could do that in the lexicon later. Identify the echo vowels. Let's create it just as an entry.
I admit this is not only cognate with Roviana, it's literally exactly the same word. So nice. That did help me out. But I also felt that we had super good evidence, so we could go forward with it.
Look, a nice reduplication there. Lava tandi. Look for the biggest of them. Not those either. So that the biggest, that superlative meaning, might be what that reduplicated one indexes. The super big one, big one, lava. Have any others? We do.
All right, so now we've got a pretty big sentence coming up.
The big claw. Livona za lavata zana. And lavatana.
There we go. Gay Rooney, again, they said to him.
Uh-huh.
So we're pretty sure this lines up. Let's see if we can just finish this whole free translation, and then we'll try to solve a few more words.
Sounds great.
Our flex file is starting to look good enough. We can be more and more sure we're at least lining them up right. And there he went and lowered his scrotum into one of them and pushed with his feet and tried to stand up.
We can just refer to it
story
as the body part. Yeah, that's right. I might have warned you. We'll just call it the body part if we need to refer to it much. We have that meat word. Oh my
goodness. And look which word they use.
Ah, the meat.
The meat. So he lowered his meat, and so that gives you an idea what kind of dirty meaning it might have, because they put it right there in a very polite word.
Pushed with his feet. It's the high point of the story, the climax.
It is a very funny story, or a very entertaining story.
Here we get J now. A new phoneme shows up. Punja, maybe. Pushed him with his foot. What word might it be? Lauko went. Okay, there's that ko, and it seems to be in order to do something. That's sort of maybe a conjunction. Gorea, that might be the lowering part.
We already know that gore means that, remember? Gore means go down.
I did not remember that.
I'll show you from the
paragraph 11, we have it.
Have you looked gore? There's quite a bit of it.
Go down to 4. Down came the fellow. Yeah, all right.
So we know that gore means, like, kind of metaphorically, as I said, you can use it in Roviana on flat water to say I'm going this way or that way. But it does literally also mean descend.
Very nice. And we see it transitive. He's transitive or causative or both. He's lowering it. That's got morphology. Whereas the fellow comes down is just gore, no suffix. No.
Now we saw va with vani.
Remind me.
Shall we go ahead and gloss gore?
Yes, let's create an entry. Ia is there in its other form. We call that an allomorph.
Should we call this 2 words go down, even though that's unwieldy? That's what they say a lot. They don't use descend. They use go down all the time.
Yeah, let's do it with a dot. Go dot DOWN.
That go down.
Die see that it's corresponds to a single form in the original. There's
Yeah.
this thing called the Leipzig glossing rules that are really great to know about. Speaking of conventions, so if you just Google that, Leipzig is Leipzig. I think that's connected to Max. Oh, yeah, you can do it too, but the viewer,
So they could see.
great. Yeah, yeah, there we go.
And I find that the Wikipedia page list of glossing abbreviations is the most easy if you want to look something up. You can control F it.
Right.
You
so
can
these
search easily.
Just recommended things you can use for grammatical abbreviations. It's really helpful. It might spend some time looking at it. It might feature categories that you hadn't considered in your analysis, for instance. Okay, now can you go back to flex there for that one? Let's go down here because it's transitive. Let's say put down or lowered is a good one.
I just lost my place here.
Oh, 12-1. Let's say lowered in the blue line there, please. Lowered the meat. Finish. Yeah. Pushed with his feet. Veini. Cosa punja. Tried to stand up. I'm just guessing the J is a prenasalized one. That makes sense to me, but just a guess.
Puja. I couldn't say. I don't know. We'd have to find a living person and ask them how they say it, and they might, of course, say it differently than when the story was written down.
That's also true. Yep, could.
So we get ve and ve ni. So we definitely don't know what's going on, but we know this is some sort of third singular object. We've seen a bunch at this point. I'm going to leave it as one thing. We're going to have to solve the e and ni distinction at some point. For now, it looks like ni is a different version of third singular object agreement, but we can't figure out what the difference is. Okay. I think this might be, we're closing in on our last sentence here.
Wow. We're going to have to split it up, looks like.
I think you split it up correctly.
No, I mean in the flex, though, because we have a line breaker.
No. Oh, good. All right. We have 2 lines left. And then
I see. Okay, I was just looking in the wrong place.
So there we go. But because of what he'd done, the clam had closed tight. There we get clam.
Very good. Ngabutia.
Ngabut is probably closed or closed tight.
Ngabutu, maybe a ngambu, somewhere in the language. Because of what he'd done. That's going to be fun to tease apart. The because part.
It looks like because he went and did, they. Because
there
Zalao. Okay, so we're almost done. We're going to put in these last 2 free translations, and we're just going to try to figure out what every single thing was.
Look at that. Result was not good. That means we can expect some negation here.
So we already had kill as vi. I believe we've seen it before.
Killing. Yeah, that's right.
But there we get kuju, our second instance of J.
That's right.
And, well, we don't know. We get za uke. We get za a bunch of times. Zalamekeza. We don't know what that means. Zake, we believe means.
Look at that right on top of each other. Zake and keza could be some pronoun fusions with the components reversed.
That seems pretty likely to me because I think the K is giving us some sort of negation. We get uke, that might be
tide rising, cover. The tide came back and rose, so it covered him, and he was killed. Beto is left. Yeah, the end. That's what we're supplying. Yeah, not in the original. Good stuff. All right.
Let's look at Mule right quick because we've seen Mule more than once now.
Absolutely.
We've seen it 4 times. Let's go to the very first one. So when they'd been out, they came back to cook them over an open fire. So gay, they, mule, which we don't know, and then paraparago, which means cook over an open fire. So there we have it once. Then we get naza mule gamu parogia. So we know that's what mule you plural are cooking. Hey, what's that you're cooking this time? Give me a bit, he said.
Hither with that, yeah. Mule Lao, the giant came back to find.
The giant came back to find them, he thought, but what's this? So Mule Lao, so Mule go, and we're getting some kind of comeback meaning there. Which we already know come is my, because we've seen it several times. The result was not good because the tide came back. Now let's do a search for come came back.
Okay.
We get three came backs. We get came back there with one of our Mule examples. We get came back again with our Mule example. And finally came back again with a Mule example. Well, what do we think Mule means?
Return, come back. Yeah.
I think Mule means return.
Oh, okay. Paragraph 7. That's great. Good work. Yeah, I was stumped for a minute there.
Huge, unbelievable advantage. It's Pule and Roviana. And I told you before, there's this weird PM thing going on in Western Province where you get cognates, and I don't understand why one would have a P and one would have an M, but
right.
My French say lobby.
Let's make it a verb. You could have had a ma.
Are you sure it's a verb?
Of course, I'm not sure, but
I'll
I would
say
say
a verb for now.
I mean, okay, let's go to paragraph. Yeah, go. Please go for it if you're ready. Go to paragraph 7. That naza mulega muparugia. Naza.
Did I go too far? What sentence is it in paragraph?
Starting with the word naza. Naza mule. That's near the end of 7. Okay, maybe it must be above that then. To me, it begins, it has a capital N. Oh yeah, okay, it's in the middle of a line. 7-4. What's that? What's that you're cooking this time? So it's what have you returned to cook, to roast, or something like that.
Correct.
What?
We feel quite confident Naza is what, right?
And this, yeah, at least one usage of the word. There, right. So
Naza, yeah. Put it right there.
What return you roast?
What return you roasted?
That's right.
What are you cooking this time?
Yeah. How it's not returning as the
first part. Think about the English if I said, "Oh, what are you cooking again?" You gotta think about return could have different meanings than what you might expect from English. And return and again aren't really that different in meaning. So, what are you cooking again? And if I walk into the kitchen and I know you're cooking something and I say, "What are you cooking again?" It means you remind me what you were cooking. Right? Maybe you told me once already. So even in English, we use it for things that we don't, when you deconstruct it, you start realizing it's not as clear-cut as it is. So what Mule does, we only have these 2 examples, but I would predict more things than just this.
Well, 4 hits, yeah. Great stuff. In that very same line there, let's identify the ramu and nganguliziu. Just give it a lowercase and then nudge it with a space bar, but it's got it there. Yeah, you all. And then for nganguli, I don't have rubbish as a verb in my own speech.
I'm fine to leave it as a verb in theirs, but let's look for, how are we I'm gonna need to borrow some letters here. So liziu, nganguli, we propose must be the root. Do we see this at all in the story ever again?
I don't think so. It's real salient with that double velar nasal. There could be some reduplication going on there too, right? Sometimes the copy function isn't so great.
Why
don't you get rid of the final letter I in your search expression? Okay.
Let's even look cool.
Yeah. All right.
So we don't really know.
But we can identify Zio.
We do know what the Zio is doing.
Me. So it's not always third person agent. It just means first singular object.
Yeah.
Maybe first plural object, first object. You did something to me. Do you want to go to the very top and just fill in some gaps that we have identified in the meantime?
Yeah, let's go back to the top. We have way better guesses at some of this stuff. We might even need to revise.
That's right.
So there was one giant.
Nana.
Sadly, not is one of the hardest things to always figure out in my experience in these languages, because na will do 30 different things. And so you could understand why if you thought, well, you use your tongue to make it, like the end of your tongue, not the back of your tongue, to make n. So it's, clearly don't like codas. You have these CV, meaning single syllable function words. Na is just high up on the list. It's easy to say, sounds cool. You're gonna that last part is subjective, but hard to argue. Even in English and Portuguese and stuff, we use it a bunch. So
find a cooler sound. You can't.
And we never actually called this one.
Let's do it.
Why did we think it was one? Oh, there was a giant. Okay, I bet we don't get Maca again. Let's check.
Yeah, 2 hits, 1 day. That just a couple lines below.
All right, pretty hard to argue then. Maybe we even said that in the first video. So that's
early on, yeah. But
this is
now
why we keep notes. I'll call this a numeral.
Yeah.
All right, Beto.
Giant, yeah, finished. So that being done, having finished that thought, there existed.
All right, so let's see where we get in ka. So we have a pretty good idea of everything else that's going on in this sentence. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on with ka.
The only instance of ka with a space on either side. Wow.
Wow, and we have broken down tugu as one thing. I'm gonna actually delink this tugu from that.
All right, so you see the icon.
I'm trying to delink it.
There you go. Break chain. Colendia. Colendia. We didn't see that as much. Arikakue.
Well, we know cole means exist already.
And we speculated, that was very early guess, that was some sort of plural.
Well, now we have a lot of diarrhea evidence, but I think we only get dia this one time. So I would have to cheat and tell you what I know what it is from Roviana. I'll leave it now.
All right.
Because we don't have enough evidence.
Always cheat later.
And tugu, I think is going to be an incredibly hard one to guess if it is what I'm thinking it is.
Okay.
But we can probably figure out ka. So I'm going to do space ka. So we try to find just the ones that are ka. I'm even going to do space ka space. We get
One
it.
hit. Yeah.
One single hit. Not enough evidence to move forward. Though I have an idea what that means too. I will leave it for now. Let's go back to gloss so we can look at everything quickly. Rane is day. Is that our official analyzed gloss there? No, it's not. Let's make it our official gloss.
Yep.
We feel pretty confident about that. We get it twice in the same thing. Excellent. Go back to our gloss mode.
Oh, if you hit approve all, we can see it. Save ourselves precious time there.
So this Kenny, we kind of see it a lot.
9 hits, yeah.
But is this K knee, like 2 parts? Because this knee, what is going on with knee? I really don't know.
More stuff than I can deduce right now. Yeah.
I certainly thought that I knew when we first started, and it's one of the reasons you shouldn't jump to conclusions based on the study of one language. It's very possible for a distinct language with a distinct history. And I mean, yes, probably Roviana and Ganoqa were one language, but probably like 3,000 years ago or long enough ago that they're super distinct and had a long time to become different. Let's see if we can guess some of this Kenny. One day, the 3 brothers went out to look for crabs. So when they'd been out there, they came back to cook them over an open fire. In this way, the giant dragged it out and ate it.
Ah, Kanindi. We have morphology on it.
So I thought this D would be the same as dia with colon dia. That's what I thought was going to happen. But why we get D in this one and dia in that one? They would be the same number of syllables, colon dia and colon D. So, but it could be that dia is
2 pieces, yeah.
Well, and it could also mean that there's another distinction we're missing, like one is actually plural and one is single and we don't get it, or other things. I don't have a great guess for Kani right now.
Me neither. let's go on and flex. Get the stuff we can easily.
Let's move on for now.
Yeli, Yendi, Yeli. Just
So
one
this-
occurrence there.
Yendi.
4 hits.
4 hits for Yendi. Let's look at this right quick, and then I'd like to go back to the gay Gunge thing, because I told you that I think Gangu was the historic form there. So what do we look for? Yendi. So went out to look for crabs. They were still grilling their food over an open fire. So Yendi probably is referring to the crabs in the earlier one. They, Gani, must be 8, eating. Yendi, they're eating their food. So Yendi is their 3PL possessive food.
Their food. Yendi.
Would be hard to argue that it's not. Let's look at our final example there of Yendi. We know most of the words in this one. They were in the middle of cooking the food.
Okay.
So I think that it is their food, and that in their language, they have to inflect possession in situations where we wouldn't have to in English, so it isn't important for the translation always. Now, if we just look for D with a space after it, we get Yendi.
Yeah, I would not have guessed possession from that first hit that we got, the one where we are with the crabs. Looking for their...
Kenny again with D. It might not be possession. I mean...
I think it's great. No, I think it's great.
It's
surmise.
something, and the yay is giving us the edible part. So...
I like it.
That's my guess there.
Also
because there we get Kenindi Gania. Drag it out and they ate it. And we think Kenny might be some sort of a spectral particle, and D is, if that is any sort of third plural thing, then we get it for Gania. It is actually indexing the subject. What the K and the Ni, so Ni kind of looks like third singular. Are you looking at this example here on line 18 of our doc? It's paragraph 3.
Okay.
So you get...
I was inspired by that to look at something else, though.
Yeah, so you get K, Ni, D. Now, we don't know exactly what K means yet. I'm assuming that's the spectral part. Ni is it, the object. D is the subject. So we are getting at least some spectral particles that are combining subjects and objects. And in this case, the order is a spectral particle, object, subject. Then you get the verb, then you get object agreement. And it looks like you could get all that and then get noun phrases. That's
great.
So to say that I am excited is an understatement. I am going to have to leave that unglossed for now because I'm beyond confused. But sometimes you need to marinate for a while.
Yes.
And I would just think, and I'll wake up at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning and be like,
I got it.
I know what it is, or I have an idea. Very cool. Right above it, you see Nge Guni, where we think that Nge is the subject and Ni is the object. So Nge Guni really has the structure of Gania. If there was no aspect, you'd put that Nge in front of it. So this Nge and this D are doing similar things. Let's go back up and look at Dia, which we get once. Where are you, Dia? Colon Dia. This time it looks like it's attaching right to the verbs. You get Beto, Cole, Dia. So it probably is a different thing, the Dia, than the D. Although this is intransitive, and the others are all transitive. Now, we don't know what's going on yet, and Tyler and I are just wrapping up these last couple minutes of this recording session. But, dear listener, you should know that not every language works like English or even like Latin. So, because I joke, because there was times when people who studied language hundreds of years ago thought every language deeply worked like Latin. We don't think this anymore. And in English and Latin, you have things like nominative, accusative. These are case systems which help us keep track of subject and objects. And because you don't need to keep track of subjects in a context which only has one subject and no object, we call that intransitive, then it's usually different, or it's usually conflated with either the way subjects or objects are treated in the transitive context. So what's going on here is, I suspect, well, the thing we need to look for is there some reason an intransitive subject is treated differently than a transitive subject? Now, we have seen the way objects are treated. We know that the plural objects are ria, not dia. But now we have the single instance of an intransitive subject being dia, and D is always for transitive subjects. As far as we know so far. We haven't seen a single counterexample. So we're not set in stone yet, but this system would mean that it treats the intransitive subject and the transitive subject and the object, all three get a distinct marking. If this turns out to be what's going on, it would be called a tripartite system, which is the rarest system of alignment in the world's languages. Now, I say it's the rare system of alignment in the world's languages, but a thorough study of languages has only been done for about 5% of languages, most of which are like Latin. I mean, like, not just are they nominative accusative, they're major world languages, and so it's only 5%. A disproportionate number of, say, Indo-European and Semitic languages have been studied. So if you're related to Mandarin, people have studied that. If you're related to English, people have studied that pretty well. I'm not saying completely, but there is no language from the Solomon Islands, which became a major world language. So maybe there's a lot of I am just beyond the moon excited even to disprove that it's tripartite, which is my goal from here on out. But if we can't, and it turns out that this is a tripartite alignment system, it really highlights the need of language science to study these, to not ignore 95% of the world's languages, which yes. I wouldn't say they're being ignored. Linguists love it, but there's only so many linguists out there. So
we hope to inspire you to become one yourself. Let's go back to Flex.
Let's go back to Flex.
There's one in, maybe, yeah, if we get to it now, it doesn't matter, but there's one in paragraph 3 that I'm really fascinated by, but let's keep going along. Let's retrace our steps and pick some more fruit. So we got the low-hanging fruit. Let's get the mid-hanging fruit now. Stuff that we weren't as keyed into before. Really what I did for several years, I worked with Flex, and I would just go over these texts again and again, getting more each time and refining my analysis, correcting my mistakes. Wonderful work, very rewarding.
You know, and so it smelt good to the giant.
Ko na, yeah, ko is like a dative marker there.
Yes, which would be, we see ko doing other things too, like so, but this suggests there's at least 2 kos.
Or the so one could be unto that.
Ah, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that makes sense.
Seen that kind of thing before. So dative, the technical term, real quick, technical term for case in languages that have case. A real good approximation to the meaning of a dative is that biblical preposition unto. Gets you most of the way there.
Well, we've got this leai again.
Yep.
And again, it seems to me to maybe be in a passive context, which is very surprising to me. Because if it was even a third singular object, it should be, so it smelled it, so he smelled it. So he smelled well it, or whatever. But if you look, they translate it as passive, and so it smelled good to the giant.
That's not passive. That's intransitive with a prepositional.
It's not. You're right. You're right.
I have my moments.
Maybe the E introduces an oblique argument or something, and the za is indexing the thing that smells good, and E is indexing the giant here. In any case, let's leave this for now and go on.
Yep. That'll be for the third or some other pass through that we'll get that. Ko zaparanga, unto that he said. What the smell? What a smell! So I don't think it's a question one in 1.6. It just has the same sound, or the same segments in it as our word what. But we do say in English, what a smell, when it's not a question. That is my kind of food today. What can we get this time? 1/7. Ngegu food. Veala pange nari.
My only guess is that nadi is na and
Fusion.
adi mixed together. So it's a plural article. And I don't know why they aren't using the edible stuff.
Okay.
But I am tempted to leave this sentence still now because I still don't know.
All right. Let's keep going. I will follow it and eat and find it and eat some. Mana. So I will do it. Yango. Tutia. Mana, I. Tikwan. These were some examples you had in your doc. Mana. Capture the food. Tutia. Did we see any tuti? That with that ia ending looks verb-like to me.
Yeah, let's see if we see tuti anywhere. You get it
Tuti.
twice. I will follow and find it and eat some.
This one. Tuti. Find them.
Came back to find them. Do we get nyango in both, though? We get nyango tutia and nyango tuti.
Nyangu or nyango? Yeah, okay.
Right, but we do have a good idea because this is find it.
Yeah.
And this is find them. So this is tuti ria. So them must be the third plural. Ria must be the third plural object agreement here. And nyango tuti is find.
Would be future marking with nyango.
Yeah, I just don't know what's going on with nyango. But
Let's
this is and this is not future. So
okay, all right. Touche. Let's go to Flex and let's create at least a word gloss for Ria, which I don't think we have.
let's find Ria. I don't know where it first appears.
Well, easy to find. As a single word.
I could even search in this.
That's right.
There's one right there. So I'm going to go to analyze. So
The
there's big old sentences.
Yeah. Bateria.
We're going to go with 3pl.object. What do you think?
Yep.
Going to leave category not sure. It seems like it should be something that is a suffix or a clitic or something, but this one is never attached in the word.
Yeah. That could just be a spelling thing. Who knows why? Can you make it say them in the blue line, please? Do you want to be bold and approve all?
I'm just going to approve this one.
All
I'll
right.
approve all. I think it's right, but I'm just going to be cautious just in case. You're going to get Zake, and I bet it's he doesn't.
K. Okay, thinking K for negative?
Well, when it's combined with the particle, I bet there's another word for.
All right.
Ye kole, womboro. Oh my goodness, so much interesting stuff there.
No end of it.
Let's go back to early here where we were starting.
Okay, the K is aligning well with negative.
Yes, but it's very hard to figure out what the other things are. And Kenny, the K does not seem to mean negation in things like Kenny or Kenindi.
Right, the final K. Oh, it could also just be no in those cases where it's a particle. Or like an interjection or something. Yep, we can have, look at English. We have the quintessential negative word is no, but it's not the only no in the language, don't you know? Yet homophones.
We also use not and nt.
I usn't it. All right, where are we in Flex here? Arikue kamu ria. Kamu ria. Oh, do we have any others? For that 2T, we had a good idea, right? The finding one in 1/8.
Well, we don't know with Nyango and 2T. We don't know which one is doing which. And I suspect we'll figure it out as we go through the book.
Okay. Kamuria. What is so? Before the ria there in 2-1, what's the verb that is? The 3 were still grilling a crab over an open fire. Oh, so maybe not a verb there. But what do you make of that kamu right before ria? 3 hits. Kamuria also exists. Okay.
It's another way to say.
I think that's just fluctuation. We have Kamuria spelled together in one instance and spelled separately. I think there's just hesitation. The language probably hasn't been written for too terribly long, so it's all that kind of stuff is up in the air.
So the guess on Kamu is cooking of some sort?
No. Do you want to let's look through the spreadsheet together for Kamu. Won't take long, just 3. Kamuria.
One has to do with cooking them over open fire.
Here we are. Ma uka uramana kamuria.
I'll kill them. But again, it's there's 2 verbs here. Mana kamuria, mana vairia, and it
That's
says
right.
I'll come tomorrow and kill them.
With the come one looking very transitive. Okay, kamu could be come.
But it would be I'll come them. Come to them or something.
Mm-hmm.
There we have kamu with no object. Rane kota kamu. So the next day that comes. Kamu has to become. I mean,
So we see here that the language is coordinate with English because kamu is come and teku is take.
That's right.
There must be a deep relation there.
I don't think so, but it's not impossible that words were borrowed already at this point. So kamu, I'm going to go ahead and hesitantly call this come, even call it a verb. And I think we might have to end our session for the day. Stop sharing. But I think we've made fantastic progress. And I'm just extremely excited to look at the alignment system and figure out the meanings of words as we go. We're going to have to really keep working on the story to figure out some of these that we're close to understanding. All right, if you've made it this long in the recording or in the video, thank you very much for watching and look for the next installment soon.